So in this episode, I thought we would do desert island tools. I came up with a bunch of different scenarios that I think could spark some interesting conversation.
So you say you got scenarios. What's the first scenario you have?
So you're on a desert island. You've got a new workshop. You've got all of the same tools, all of the same machines, all of the same consumables. But you have to give up 3 of your machines.
Okay, straight off, this is the weirdest shipwreck in the world. I just washed up on the beach with a fully built workshop and all my tools and some magical way of powering them all. But I will suspend disbelief and play along. So I'm just looking around at my machines. So, okay, let's define machine. I would say it's probably something that's not handheld.
Yeah, a freestanding machine, that's not handheld.
Yeah, normally mains powered, but I'm not always true for me. So looking around, I would say my first one is the pillar drill. It's a nice to have thing, but I feel I can get away with using a hand drill for most things.
Exactly the same for me. That's the first thing I wrote down. I very rarely use my pillar drill. I was drilling a lot of metal this week.
Same.
Yeah?
I was putting the MDF on the ceiling and I had a big stack of them in here and I dropped the one on the ceiling. This is not on camera, I think. The stack fell over, hit my camera stand, sheared the bolt off for the pole. You've seen this thing I've made. It's a bit of a Heath Robinson thing. Oh, well, that sounds very topical. So I've tried to fix it, but it's about 5mm thick plate steel, and I was drilling it with hand drill, and I was thinking this would be a perfect job for the pillar drill, but I'm not ready to bring it into the workshop yet. But yeah, I managed to do it with the hand drill, but it would have definitely been quicker with the pillar drill.
The problem with drilling through metal is you have to change the belt and different gear ratios to get a slower speed, and I always open up the top of my pillar drill, look at the diagram and just think, nah, I'm not messing about with that. I don't really get it. So I end up doing it with a hand drill. And to be honest, I get decent results. I feel like I've got more control over with the trigger in the drill. These holes didn't need to be perfectly plumb anyway. So yeah, I very rarely use the pillar drill.
Yeah, the belts are a pain. I think, I forget which way round it is. I think like the lower on the belt is, the slower it is, and the higher it is, the faster it is. It might be the other way round. I can't remember without looking. Yeah, the first time I did it, it's like, I don't know what speed it is. But yeah, I think I kind of tend to keep it in like a middle one that can do everything.
And yours is a vintage one as well, isn't it?
Yeah, mine's a vintage one. I've definitely seen these new fancy ones that are all electronic. I think they're direct drive, so instead of having belts, the motor is just attached to the spindle, and you just turn a dial or press buttons. I think they're even programmed. You can program it for different thicknesses of metal. Saying this is a tool we don't use much, I'm not going to suddenly go and buy a £2,000 one thinking that's going to make me use it more. And I have to say, I'm cavalier with drilling metal as well with the hand drill. I was just like, put a bit in, full power, let's go. The little switch you have on the top of the drill going to the first gear from second to first, like, that works so much better. You can almost see it taking the shavings off when you do that.
Yeah, I was getting those really satisfying curly bits that come up when you drill. So yeah,
that's what you want.
Good. The pillar drill mine is rubbish, and it's something that I keep thinking I should probably upgrade that someday. But again, for how little I use it, it's just not worth it. I do see a lot of people on YouTube use them a lot.
I think people upgrading them to make them more useful, like putting a table on it with a fence with a stop. Because if you were doing something you needed, I don't know, a hole in the same place on every corner of the bit of wood, to just work out where the first one goes, and then you just put it against the fence and it'll stop and flip it and flip it and flip it. And then if you've got 20 bits of wood that all need that, I can see how that
definitely
would really speed things up and make it so much better than a hand drill. Yeah. And having the depth stop on it. But I very rarely do things like that. I think we've started with the easy one. That's an easy choice. I think it's going to get harder from here. I could cheat and say like a dust extractor in my desert island, just have the doors open. But that's definitely cheating though.
See, I wouldn't get rid of a dust extractor.
No, I don't think I would. I take it quite seriously.
For me, my second choice is fairly easy as well. benchtop belt sander, disc sander combination machine. I could live without that easily. It comes in handy ever so often when I want to sand something at a perfect 90-degree angle.
Yeah.
Using a disc sander for that is fantastic, but I'm sure there are enough resources on this desert island. Maybe I can just stumble upon an old motor that I can... I don't know.
Oh, what? This is getting more and more ridiculous, your scenario.
My episode, my rules.
Okay. So you're like playing strip poker, but you've put on every item of clothing you own. As I'm starting from I'm in my swimming trunks, which is not an image anyone wants. Because after the move in the tent, I really don't have anyway. At one point, I had 5 table saws, I'm sure. So I could have got rid of one. But do you have a benchtop disc and belt sander, record power one?
I've got the Clark one.
You got a Clark one, that's what you're talking about, the one that lives
The
under
big
your
one.
mitre saw station, yeah.
Yeah.
So I thought you were saying about your little one, and you were getting rid of one, but actually keeping the bigger one.
So the little one that I've got is the belt sander grinder,
Yes.
and that was going to be my third choice, but I changed my mind on that. But we'll come on to that. What's your second choice?
Okay, well, I'd forgotten about it because it's behind my bandsaw, but I have a router table, and it's a really good, expensive bit of kit Trent sent me, and I used it once for something, and I've never used it since. And maybe part of that is I had the tent and no power, and it was in the kitchen and all that, but I've pretty much gone my whole woodworking journey without a router table.
Yeah.
And I'm just not a router table person. I like putting chamfers and roundovers on things. Workshop build, I love the router for doing the hinge jig, but like doing profiles on things, I'm just not interested. The kind of ornate stuff, I can't ever think of a time where I've gone, I wish I had a router table.
Yeah, so I've had a slightly different experience because I've always felt the same, but more so recently I've found uses for it that has put it way higher up my list of priority in terms of machines. So this week I was using it to make new insert plates for my table saw, and the table saw has these really narrow lips around that support the insert plate. I probably could have done it with a table saw, but it was so much easier just to do it on the router table. Saying that, I still don't like using it.
I think it's something I will get rid of because it's a big bit of kit. In fact, I'm looking around. The bandsaw is obviously massive, but it's vertical height. If it was shorter, it wouldn't give me any more usable space in the workshop. As the router table, it's really tall. It's much taller than my workbench. Considering I've only used it once in a year, I don't think it justifies its space. So actually, that was a really easy one for me, the second one. One more then. Well, sanding machines would have been good because I got rid of my oscillating spindle sander, a little Triton one, orange thing. I got it for about £100, really light. I really liked it. It worked really well. Dust collection was good, but it's very specialist kind of sanding the inside of curves, and you can do it with the pillar drill, but I've got rid of the pillar drill as well. But I've already got rid of it. I already got rid of it when I moved.
You could make a sanding drum attachment for a cordless drill.
Oh, you
I've seen
could.
that done before.
You could. It's harder to get it square,
Yeah.
I feel. I already got rid of that, and I had the same Clark disc and belt sander, and I got rid of that. So I have no sanding machines whatsoever now, because I feel everything can be done with a random orbital sander. And okay, inside of a curve, maybe not, but that's a very specialist need, and you can do it with some sandpaper. So I feel sanding machines are nice to haves, but not essential. So what machines do I have? So if I've got rid of the drill and the router table, all I've got left is the planer thicknesser, the table saw, and the bandsaw.
This is much harder for you because you've got less machines than
That's
I
what
have.
I'm saying.
So,
This is the strip poker analogy. I suppose I've got the air filter. That feels like cheating as well.
No, I'll allow that.
No, that is a cop-out. I think the planer thicknesser has got to stay. Oh, I forgot about the mitre saw because it's not in this room. I'm going to put the mitre saw. I can totally do without a mitre saw. For kind of repetitive cross-cutting, I can use the table saw, especially now I've got the nice extendable fence mitre gauge thingy-jig. you need to cut any longer lengths, I can just use a circular saw or jigsaw.
Well, that's interesting because that was my third choice as well.
Really?
Which I think was going to be one that people probably wouldn't expect me to say, but more and more so recently. I'm finding the miter saw frustrating. In fact, I'm using it more for cutting up firewood than anything else recently. I find that if I knock my miter saw in the wrong way, it will be ever so slightly out of square, and
Really?
that bugs me. I've tried reconfiguring it a bunch of times, tightening down. I've even lifted the saw out of the miter station, tightened the bolt from underneath to really try and lock it in, but for some reason it keeps going out of square. I want to go to a tool and know it's going to cut square every time. The other thing is dust extraction as well. I just find it continually disappointing.
I think what would get me back into miter saws, I'm not going to get rid of mine, but I think this is something we're going to talk about in the future. I would get a Festool Capex.
Really?
Yeah.
I think the Capex does a better job from what I've heard.
I think the trouble is our scenario, what we're saying is we're on a desert island, but basically doing the same thing we're doing now. I think if the scenario was different and was on a desert island and we were building shelters and things, contractors don't have table saws a lot of the time. They definitely don't have band saws, and the miter saw for building this workshop I'm in, my mum's garden room, the miter saw is the king. That is the tool.
Yes.
And I was just building this log store for my mum, and all I took was a circular saw. And actually, I should have talked about this more, because really I just used a circular saw and impact driver. They were the only tools. I think I did use a jigsaw, but that's only because I had it. I could have totally got away with just using the circular saw. But I missed having a miter saw, just being able to set up a stop and repeat cuts. So it's not something I do very often, but on my desert island, if I was building myself a new house, I would wish I had the miter saw.
If I'm building something outside, like a shed or a log store or something like that, my preference is still speed square and circular saw.
Okay, that's interesting.
I just enjoy that way of working. I don't know why. You know, I could do that in the workshop without a miter saw. If I wanted to cut down a long length, I can just grab the circular saw and speed square. Yes, arguably the dust extraction is even worse than a miter saw if I do that, because even when I hook up my circular saw to dust extraction, there's dust everywhere. But the miter saw takes up a lot of space as well. Mine is very deep, takes up a lot of depth, and I've often thought if I was to get rid of the miter saw, I could potentially reconfigure my whole workshop and make it into being a much better layout.
Yeah, well, especially if you built a sliding table for your table saw, or built one of Peter Millard's great folding MFTs and use the track saw, because then you've got great cross cut with repeatability and dust collection.
I'm not an MFT guy, and I just don't think I ever will be. I don't enjoy using an MFT.
No,
it just feels fiddly, awkward and clunky to me.
I totally get it if you're doing cabinetry, you're using sheet goods all the time.
Even then, though, I still don't think I would use it. In fact, I tried it and I didn't use it.
No, I'm the same. As soon as I got a rail square, this just solves every problem without any of the faff.
So is that all three machines then?
Yeah. I'm quite surprised how we agreed on two of the things.
Yeah. The second scenario. You're on a desert island. You need to build a home. You can invite 3 people over to help you with this. Who are you choosing? And I don't think we should choose each other, by the way.
Oh, well, that's lucky. I didn't want to insult you. I feel you're going to say this, so I'll get in first with a bit of Robin Clevitt. And 2 other people.
Let me give you my answers, because it might help you with how I've structured it. So I'm going to go Robin Clevitt for all of the framework and the roof. Then I'm going to go Gid Joyner for all of the carpentry. So the door fitting, the window fitting. Robin could easily do all of that stuff as well, but I feel like I could learn from watching both of them. If I can have the opportunity to watch both of them working, that's what I'm going to do. The third choice came down to, right, so I've got my house. What am I going to put in the house? And obviously I can make my own furniture, but I'd have Bish Bash Bosh Stew over to build me some nice, sleek, modern-looking furniture. I think stylistically it's different to anything else you can get out there. I don't think I would be capable of making anything to that standard, and I'd like to fill my house with that style of furniture. So I'm going to go with Robin, Gid, Stu from Bish Bash Bosh.
I think they're all excellent choices. I think I might go totally different. I think I'd quite like to be washed up on a desert island and have to build my own shelter. And I think if I had Robin there, I wouldn't be designing and building my own shelter. He would be designing and building my shelter. And these are all experts, and I would just be the idiot that's in the way. And that's not fun. So I'd quite like to do it by myself. I enjoy doing this workshop build on my own. I had plenty of offers for help. So really, what I'd want is labourers, and I quite like rustic. I don't want it something beautiful, perfect. I want to find bits of washed up timber and have kind of a shack. I'm sorry, I'm going to ruin your whole thing, and I might not even pick anyone. I'm on my desert island surviving. I don't want anyone else there ruining my wonderful time.
Now you've said that, I am jealous of the opportunity to try and build a shelter. How good would that be, by the way? This is something that could never possibly happen, but...
Oh yeah, because so far it's been so realistic.
Wouldn't it be good if we did a workshop banter collab where we were both on a desert island and genuinely had to make a shelter out of stuff we could find?
Yeah.
How awesome would that be?
It's a bit like the Scrap Heap Challenge.
Yeah.
I loved that show.
When you were a child, did you kind of make dens in the woods and stuff like that with your mates?
Yeah, absolutely. Recording this, I'm sat in my workshop. This is now my den. I don't like the whole man cave thing, but sometimes I've been sat on the sofa in the evenings going, oh, I wish I sat in my workshop.
Yeah.
And I think as soon as I've kind of... If I had the lights on in the evening, everyone would be able to see in here, so I need to get some blinds and stuff. But the little kid in me wants to have a sleepover in here.
Yeah. It shouldn't have been a surprise to me, really, that I've offered you 3 people to have at your disposal, and you've chosen none.
Hello, Matt here. It takes us quite a lot of time to prepare and produce each episode of this podcast, and we'd like to keep putting it out for free. If you enjoy the podcast and you'd like to help, support and shape future episodes, you can find a link to our Patreon page in the show notes, or just search online for Workshop Banter Patreon. Thank you, and now back to the podcast.
Right, on to scenario 3 then. Similar to the first scenario, you've got a workshop with all of the same tools, same machines, but this time the mayor of this island is offering you an upgrade of 3 machines. So you can choose the machine that you want to upgrade, and you can also, if you want to, decide which machine you would upgrade it to.
So they've got to be machines I already have.
Yes.
The first one's easy. I would have a larger capacity bandsaw, even though I think I've had this one about a year. Axminster have just brought out another one that looks exactly the same size but bigger capacity, which I'm furious about. So I'd like a bigger bandsaw. Planer thicknesser, that little Clark one, I love the fact that it's tiny. Like having something with a spiral cutter block and cast iron tables would be amazing. But do I sacrifice the space? So if I lose my router table, it could go in that space. So that'd be good. What else? I love my old pillar drill. I can't think of anything I don't like about the table saw. Yeah, what else would I get? A third one I want to upgrade. I'm in a really great privileged position at the moment where I say I want the bigger bandsaw. I have no idea what I want it for. It'd be a nice to have. And same with the planer, actually. Can the third thing be the workshop itself? So I've only just finished building this, but obviously more space. And that's not saying I regret building this or anything like that. But if I'm upgrading the machines, I need more space for bigger machines. I mean, saying that, I'm sat in an armchair in my workshop. I could easily lose the armchair. And I have this kind of sideboard thing with all my Stanley cases. They could easily go into my storage room that I'm going to build. Rather, they don't need to be in the workshop. Could I go non-woodworking and say I want to upgrade like a camera or a laptop?
I think so. It's a tool. It's a tool that you use to do your job, isn't it?
The laptop we're using to record this is 10 years old now, and I'd really like a new laptop. But I use Apple. The trouble is, I'm so into the Apple kind of thing now that I just can't go back.
Yeah.
So it's an expensive upgrade to get the newer version. Oh, how about the miter saw? There you go. Then I'd have to cheat. I keep forgetting about it because it's not in this room right now.
Yeah.
I can't fault the Bosch one, but in a compact space, having forward-facing rails would be amazing. So I would go for a Festool Capex.
Nice.
There you go. 3 things. Right, go on. What would you change?
So my first thought was the table saw, have to be honest. But
You're worse than me.
so I was thinking along the lines of Keith the YouTuber versus Keith the woodworker. If I was Keith the woodworker, I would absolutely want to upgrade the table saw. I haven't done the research in terms of what saw I would want to upgrade to, but I can imagine it might be any of the big names that you would expect, really. I'd need to make a spreadsheet before I could make a decision. Sorry about Mickey, by the way.
Yeah. For the people at home, that all I can see is a tail at the moment.
It's his dinner time. Second tool for me, planer thicknesser. I'd like to go for bigger capacity and a spiral head cutter block. But again, Keith the YouTuber might not want to do that because I don't want to have all of these fancy machines that no one can relate to.
I was going to ask that. Why Keith the YouTuber and Keith the woodworker different? But yeah, no, I get that, and I'm the same. I mean, I would never sell out and get a Festool Domino.
Third machine that I came up with was the bandsaw, and I've always been reasonably happy with it. But when I spoke to Carl Pope recently, who has the same bandsaw just rebadged under a different brand, and he pointed out all of the flaws with it in terms of its guide bearings.
Yeah.
They're so awkward to get to, and it is a real faff. And the fact that you have to take the fence rail off to replace the blade.
Oh, that's so annoying.
Again, it's another one of those things where you think, who designed this? Did you even think it through? So when I have to replace a blade, I also have to reset my fence to make sure that it's cutting accurately. Not that I've ever used the measurement scale on my fence to cut anything at the bandsaw anyway, because I'll always measure and cut to a mark. But yeah, when we had the discussion about getting rid of 3 machines, the bandsaw did spring to mind for me because I don't actually use it that much.
I never see you use it. Is that your first ever bandsaw?
No, it was my second. I had an ELU bandsaw that I got off eBay for £90, I think.
Was that on early YouTube?
Yes,
I
very,
don't remember
very
that.
early. I think it was the first big machine I bought was my Charnwood bandsaw. So I must have had it 6 years or so. But like I say, for the amount I use it, it's fine.
The first kind of woodworking machine I bought was the bandsaw, and I miss those days when I had this benchtop record power one, and whatever I needed to make, I just worked out how to do it on a bandsaw.
We've talked so many times in the past about constraints and limitations actually enhancing your creativity, because I think when you get started with woodworking, you tend to have more of a desire and a hunger for it. I mean, this is how I was anyway. You find ways of doing things with what you have.
Yep.
And you enjoy it more for that reason.
But then that's why being washed up on a desert island is going to be a fascinating thing.
Yeah.
And we can pitch this to Netflix.
I would so love to do that. So for the next challenge, I went down the hand tool route. This is more of a real desert island scenario in terms of, you've just landed in your swimming trunks or whatever you said you were in. You're only allowed 5 hand tools. These are the tools that you really need to make a shelter, to survive with. 5 hand tools.
Right, so I used to like watching kind of survivalists. So I think in kind of temperate climates, you want an axe, and in tropics, you want a machete. But I'm very much a belt and braces type guy, so I think I'd have an axe and a machete. I think being able to cut and split wood, I think I'm going to add in with my axe, because they come as a pair in my world, splitting wedges.
Is that your third choice then? Yeah.
No, splitting
No?
wedges. Splitting wedges have come in on the website. You buy the axe and they come with splitting wedges.
Oh, do they? Okay.
They do. They do on the website where I'm buying mine from. They're part of the same tool. I'm bending the rules slightly.
Do Amazon ship to this desert island?
Yeah, they've got a drone that drops off. A saw. Definitely need a saw.
A Western saw or a Japanese saw?
I think I'm going to go Japanese saw.
Okay.
Maybe if you're doing joinery, I'd want a chisel.
Yeah.
Good size kind of framing chisel. So what have I got? I've got a machete, an axe, a saw, a chisel. Do I go for a mallet? Because it's very easy to improvise a mallet. Maybe a hand drill.
Yeah.
A brace and bit. Yeah, that's my 5.
It's interesting because when I first started thinking about this, I must have had it in my mind that I was more of a workshop woodworker rather than a survivalist.
Okay.
Because I put handsaw and I went for a Western handsaw. A speed square.
Right, so you're not building a shelter, you're building yourself a coffee table on your desert island.
It seems that way when I was
Right.
thinking about it, yeah. So I went for handsaw, speed square, chisel, mallet, hand drill. But as a survivalist, you're absolutely right.
As much as I hate this idea, our sets of tools kind of complement each other. I'm building a shelter and you're building the furniture, and we'd have a very nice little home together.
The next scenario was consumables. For some reason, you're limited in terms of you can only have one size of drill bit and one length of screw.
Right, so screws then, if I'm going for my shelter, I'm going to go for some 4x100 or 5x100, some big screws.
One drill bit size.
Ooh. But I only use self-drilling screws anyway. Chop down a tree and split the wood. I'm not drilling pilot holes.
So putting the whole shelter building survival thing aside,
Yeah.
what about woodworking? Because my initial thought was I use a 2.5mm drill bit more than any other drill bit. It's the one that I'm constantly reaching for.
Okay, I'm similar. I have a countersinking drill bit. There's a 3mm drill bit with a countersink.
Ah, you've gone for a countersinking drill bit. That's the kind of clever thinking we need on this podcast.
No, that is, and it's one of these
Self-centering?
Oh, I do love those. It's got I forgot what you call them, the hex shank, quick change.
Yeah, see, the problem I have with those countersink bits is that I always want the drill bit to protrude a different amount. So I'm constantly trying to find an Allen key that fits so that I can adjust the depth.
I guess the thing is they're so cheap, is just to get 3 or 4 and have them set up at different lengths for different materials, because it's not much money.
Yeah, the ones I bought in the past were the trend ones, and I think it was like 35 quid for a set, so it felt like a lot of money to me. But I think since then, you've got like the Bauer ones that have come out that apparently are decent, so maybe I'll pick up another set of Bauer or something.
I've just closed it down, but I'm sure the DeWalt ones I was paying like £4 for a drill bit.
Oh, that's not bad.
And I've got quite a few, and so when I went to my mum's, I've got like a pencil case which has a tape measure in it, some pencils, some jigsaw blades, a countersinking drill, all the little bits that you probably won't need.
Yeah. Those trend ones I bought as well were terrible in terms of quality. I broke them all so quickly.
Oh, really?
I was really disappointed, yeah.
Trend's one of those brands that has different levels of quality,
They're
but
hit or
it's
miss,
not
aren't
obvious. Well, they do
Yeah.
their craft pro ones, which are like the cheapy ones, and then they do I don't know what the professional is, but I find all their packaging looks the same. At least with Axminster, it's like the red craft and then the
Yeah.
grey professional, and it's kind of obvious which is the better quality stuff.
Yeah.
But now you're saying woodworking, yeah, the drill bit I'd go for would be the same, like a pilot drill with a countersink.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to go for 3.5 by 40. For joining 18mm sheet goods together,
Yeah.
I find that the 3.5 doesn't split as much. And also I want them to have a self-drilling tip. I want them to be the riser cutter 3.5 times 40. They're my favourite screws. Use a PZ2 bit.
Hopefully they get birch ply on this desert island as well.
It must wash up all the time.
How about PPE then? You're allowed 3 items of PPE.
Well, on a desert island, surely it'd be sunglasses, sun cream, a floppy hat.
You can get the safety glasses with tinted lenses, can't you?
I've got some. They're like £4 DeWalt ones. I bought them years ago. But actually, I don't think I ever wear them when I'm working outside. I think I forget I've got them.
So I guess the clever thing to do in this scenario would be to get one of those hooded respirator things that protect your face, your breathing. Do they do hearing as well?
I don't know. No idea.
Never looked into them. If they fully encase your head, it would be difficult to wear ear defenders as well. So you'd probably need some of the earplugs that just stick in.
They don't work in my ears.
Don't they?
No. So it's difficult, isn't it? So if we've done scenarios where we're just using hand tools, in which case I'm not that fussed with respirators. If I'm working outside using hand tools in a survival situation, I'm probably not that fussed with any of those things particularly.
Yeah.
It's when you start using machines that you really want glasses, respirators, and ear defenders. And they're my 3 bits of PPE.
Okay. PPE's boring. Let's move on.
Boring but essential. I think a good hat, but then I could weave myself one. So I have some palm leaves.
Yeah.
Maybe my first video I do on the island.
You could just make one out of a coconut shell.
That's true, but that's going to be my bikini. It's going to be. It's going to be coconut based. That's the thumbnail.
Right, I've got 2 more scenarios. The first is that you're only allowed 3 power tools, no machines. I think we both have the same idea.
Yeah, but I think I might have changed mine since
Okay.
then. So again, this is woodworking. We're not building a shelter.
No.
So I remember what we both went for before. Drill driver, circular saw, random orbital sander. So since then, I have got an 18-volt jigsaw, and I used it on this build for the workshop. And I was cutting some treated 4x2s off, and I was up a ladder, and I just thought, oh, you know what? I used the jigsaw. I think it got delivered that day, and it just felt safer up a ladder using a jigsaw rather than a circular saw.
Yeah.
And I was amazed at the speed it went through these things. And then obviously you can cut curves. So actually, I think when I had a mains power jigsaw, and I bought a lot of big lengths of oak that was 200mm wide, about 30-40 thick, and 2.4 meters long. I'd roughly cut them to size using the jigsaw.
Yeah. And
then plane them and do all that. I think a circular saw would be good for doing sheet goods straight cuts. A jigsaw would be terrible, but probably on a desert island doing less of that.
Yeah, and I guess on this desert island, time isn't really too much of a constraint, is it? So if your jigsaw takes a little bit longer to make the cut, it's not a big deal. Plus, it gives you more versatility in cutting curves.
Yeah.
The coarse cutting blades, they do cut pretty quickly, don't they?
Do cut pretty quickly. And I saw the Maffel one. Now they do one that's almost 2 blades welded together. So it's really rigid.
And so it doesn't bend.
Doesn't got bent, and so you can really do very straight cuts through thick material. Because that's where jigsaw struggles, I think. If you're trying to cut something thick, you do get some deflection sometimes.
Well, I'm going to stick with the original combo, circular saw drill, random orbit sander. Maybe I'll just have to borrow your jigsaw if we're on the same island.
Yeah, or neighbouring islands, and we come up with some kind of
raft
on a pulley system to send things between.
We could have one of those cans with a long piece of string to communicate.
Coconut.
We could do the podcast. Final scenario then. The mayor of the desert island is offering to buy you 1 tool and 1 machine that you don't currently have. What would you like to go for?
Oh, I don't currently have. Again, I'm in such a privileged position that there's nothing. If there was something I really needed, I'd have probably just bought it. And I've just bought myself an impact driver, and that was the one thing. You know, I've got a ridiculous one. In fact, I've got 2, both from the same manufacturer, Maffel. Have you seen their, I don't know what they call it, like a beam bandsaw?
No.
It's a handheld bandsaw with a really big throat, like 300mm. So it's, the metal cutting handheld bandsaws you get?
Yeah.
It's like one of those, but 5 times bigger.
Oh, right.
So you want to cut profiles, nice cuts on a beam, oak beam, say like a 12-inch square beam. You take this bandsaw to it. So you could also use it, I guess, for resawing beams and things. It's really cheap. It's only about £4,000. But if you're the kind of person that does high-end timber framing and wants to cut nice bits on the end and things and joinery, it's amazing. The other thing that I just saw them had the picture of the other day was they've got a handhold chain mortiser. So it's like a baby chainsaw that plunges to cut mortises. So on a desert island, being able to cut with a portable bandsaw to be able to do logs, I guess. I could make my own planks.
But once you've built your own house, shelter, outbuildings...
I suppose these are fantasy machines.
Yeah.
This bandsaw costs, I think, £4,000. The mortiser, I imagine, is at least a couple of grand, if not more. I'm never going to own either of them. No, I don't need them. I don't need anything. But I want them.
But what about from more of a woodworking angle?
Okay.
Forget the whole desert island thing. Someone's offering to buy you one new tool, one new machine.
I genuinely can't think of anything I need. You go, and then I can steal your ideas.
Oh, okay. Well, drum sander.
Yeah, as soon as I said that, I knew how stupid I'd been. Yeah.
With the tool, I would struggle because I've got everything I need, and that set of Narex chisels
Yeah,
would be nice.
You could literally get your phone out and just buy yourself them now.
Yeah, but like I said before, I don't tend to allow myself non-necessities. Yeah, luxury items. If I've got something that works, I carry on using it. Yeah, those Narex set of chisels, although is that multiple tools, I don't know whether that would qualify.
No, it's one purchase. I don't have a multi-tool, as in an oscillating multi-tool, but I imagine it's one of those tools that if I had one, it would come in handy every now and again.
Definitely.
Drum sander, yes, but I wouldn't get one for this workshop because they're big, and I'd probably rather use the space to get a better planer thicknesser.
Yeah.
Oh, so this is something that probably doesn't exist at the moment, but it will do shortly, is I have 2 quarter-inch routers, one 12-volt Bosch, one 18-volt Trend. I would like a cordless half-inch router.
Okay.
I think Koki make one.
They do.
Richard Morley, Brain Fizz, I think he raves about it.
Yeah.
But I'm sure all the manufacturers are designing one. So I'm sure Bosch will bring out a half-inch 18-volt router, and I think that'd be fantastic. I would like one of those, especially if I get rid of the router table.
Yeah.
I think having, those two would be good.
Okay, good answer. Didn't go for a domino.
Yeah, I forgot about dominoes. It's weird, all the things I want to make, do I need a domino for? And the domino is obviously, doesn't really do anything better than a screw. It just hides it.
Yeah.
So I think I'm quite happy with screws at the moment, actually.
Nice. Well, that was it. Unless you can think of any interesting scenarios.
I think that was a very thorough set of scenarios. And now, if I ever get shipwrecked, I feel fully prepared. As long as there's a very philanthropic mayor. Is that right?
I think it is, yeah. So somebody who does a lot of charitable...
Yeah, this mayor sounded generous.
Yeah, he does sound quite generous. Does the mayor have to live on an island to be... I don't know. Because if it's a desert island, then he can't live on the island, can he? But can he still be a mayor if he doesn't live there?
Well, I don't think desert island means an abandoned island.
Doesn't it? I thought the whole idea of desert island was that it was deserted.
Deserted, is that what it means?
I assume so, but I've never...
I was thinking sandy, that's what I thought, as in a tropical island.
You could be right. I never thought of that.
No, you could be right. I never thought of it that way.
At the end of this podcast, we'll have both learned something.
Yeah, only if we look it up.
Yeah. Have you got any recommendations?
I have. I think he's German. I think it's Matthias Berger. Now, I started watching him years ago. He bought an old house that was a combination of stone and bits of timber frame, and the work he had to do to remove like beams from his house and mill ones up and replace them. Just super impressive. He releases the videos in German, hopefully in German, otherwise I'll make a fool of myself, and in English. And he's did one a few weeks ago where he volunteers at some old castle or fortification and made some new doors for it. And he's got a wonderful kind of basement workshop with old bits of machinery in. And yeah, I'm just so impressed at the size of the projects he takes on.
It's been a while since I watched one of his videos, so I'll check it out.
Have you been watching anything good?
Yeah, I've got a couple actually. First one is a channel I've been binge watching recently. There's a couple of people that we met at a recent YouTube event, and the channel is called Nerd Forge. And it's, to be honest, it's not really my cup of tea in terms of the stuff that they make, because it's all quite fantasy. How would you even explain that stuff? Think Harry Potter, stuff like that. And that stuff just doesn't appeal to me and never has done. But the projects they make, I just love to watch. And also their videos are fantastically well put together. So that's Nerd Forge. Second thing, Matt Estley's second channel. He's doing some more in-depth videos about his van conversion series. And I thought, second channel videos, they probably aren't going to be of the same quality that we're used to seeing from Matt. So I kind of put off watching them for a while, but I watched the first one and then ended up watching the whole series. They're, every bit as good as his first channel videos, but they're just a little bit more detailed in places. They're fantastic. And one of the ones I enjoyed the most was seeing him try to remove a heavy-duty ramp from the back of this van when he first got it. And I thought, oh my God, that looks terrifying. It was so big and unwieldy. And the fact that he managed to get it out on his own was just mind-blowing.
Oh, good. Thank you for listening. You can find Keith on YouTube by searching for Rag N Bone Brown and me by searching for Badger Workshop. We have a Patreon page if you'd like to help support us in making future episodes of the podcast. Link to that in the show notes. And we have a Workshop Banter Instagram and Facebook page if you'd like to get in touch, which is @Workshop Banter, all one word.